never been so popular. It's been very good for my self-esteem.
It's not only been busy, but a lot of really nice people here, man. Thank you so much for, I don't think I've ever felt as appreciated anywhere as I have here. And that and the barbecue, I mean, Jesus. I'm calling my real estate people right now. You never know. You may have me as your neighbor.
Great, I'm just gonna ask one question, and if you guys wanna start lining up right over by the microphone so we can get right to your questions after. Obviously, for both of your characters on Sons of Anarchy, Jax and Clay, there was a lot of emotional challenges that you guys went through, so I wanna know, how did you guys navigate portraying these like emotions, and especially what the two of your characters went through the entirety of the series?
Better go for that one, son.
I don't know. It was a tough job doing that show. I mean, Kurt would just swing for the fences, and you'd get these episodes. It's gonna be a lot of spoilers. I hope you've all seen the show, or those of you that haven't don't intend to, because we're gonna ruin it.
Spoil away.
You
Never seen the show by now. You know, I can't help you.
No, we write these scenes where like, okay, this episode you're gonna kill your mom. You think like, well, that's gonna be shit, isn't it? It's gonna be like, I don't thankfully have any reference point for this. So, you know, this episode, you know, this character's gonna tell you that your mom murdered your wife, and then you have to show up and act this. And so, yeah, it was quite stressful, I must say. I mean, we had a lot of fun. It was really great stuff, really beautiful characters to play, but it always felt like I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown while I was shooting that show, because there was just always, every week at work, there was something mad to try to act.
You know, they actually, I don't know if you realize this, but they actually have, if you just, on Google, if you type in sons who killed their moms, like a whole bunch of, you could have done so much research. Fucking Google, man. There ain't nothing on there you can't research.
I should have asked Ron.
The old matricide page.
All right, so just for time purposes, we're gonna throw it right to the audience. What's your name, what's your question? If it's on, testing, there we go.
Afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Chris, and first off, Charlie, I just want to say hi. Didn't want you to feel ignored, because I actually had a question for Ron, so just wanted to let you know.
Putting the microphone down.
Awesome. Ron, my favorite movie of the 2010s was a little indie thing called Drive, and you arguably play probably one of the more complex antagonists in Nino, and to my understanding, you used Of Mice and Men, Lenny, as a basis for his character. I hope I'm right on that, but what was the genesis of that, and how did you apply that and develop the character of Nino?
What did you hear my reference was?
Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, the character of Lenny.
No, but I always wanted to play Lenny, but no, that had nothing to do with that. I may have, in the same interview, you know what I was doing?
Or maybe I misheard something, but, so I'll rephrase it real quick. How did you develop Lenny, or Nino? Sorry.
I have, this is the God's honest truth. You know, we all try out for movies and stuff, and we all want to get movies, but I've never really, what's it called? I've never really campaigned to be in a movie until Drive. I'd seen a movie called Bronson, and then Bronson made me go back and watch the Pusher trilogy, which is Refn's earlier work, which was supposed to be one movie, and the first movie was so whack that they made a second and a third, it became a trilogy.
If you haven't seen those, you really should. Pusher 3 with Zlatkow Burek as the lead. Like, one of the great films ever made.
And so I hear that Refn is getting ready to make his very first movie in America, and that Gosling has already signed on. And I called my people, and I said, the word was lobbying, the word I was searching for. I said, I want to do everything in my power to at least get a meeting with Refn, and I've never done this before. Then I hear that there's a character in there that's a Jewish guy from New York who thinks the way to really be tough is to be Italian. So he completely changes his name to Nino, and even though his name is Arnie, and he opens a pizza place, and he starts talking like these, them, those, and that was me. I was a Jewish kid in New York who said, nah, man, the only way I'm gonna get any street cred is if I'm like a made guy, And I fashioned myself as an Italian my whole childhood. And I finally got Refn to accept a phone call of mine, and he said, you really want to be in the movie, why? And I said to him, because I'm Nino. I'm a Jewish guy from New York who always pretended to be Italian. So we met, and we had a long meeting. I could take up the entire rest of the panel on this answer.
Well, I'm going to watch it within the week, if not tonight.
You don't even want to hear the rest of it, do you?
I do,
I've
but
even bored you. You're the one guy who, in the audience,
so thank you all
this is
so
my
much.
favorite movie. All right, stop already, Ron. This is what happens to me everywhere I go, man. The only reason I'm here is because my wife said, get the fuck out of the house.
What's your name? What's your question?
My name is John. I have a question about Hellboy. You know the heavy thing on your left when you're playing as Hellboy? Was it heavy to pick when you're moving around with your arms with that left thing that you had on your left? It looked pretty heavy.
The thing on my left.
On Hellboy, yeah, you were playing as the Red Demon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Prosthetic.
What was on my left?
I think it was like a.
My right hand was made out of granite. That was the right hand of doom. That was the heavy thing. On my left, I had my gun, my condoms, my gum, my cigars, my lighter. I was ready for anything.
Great. What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, my name is Heather. And first of all, Ron, I like you in a lot of movies, like Kronos, I loved City with the Lost Children. And Charlie, I really liked you in Crimson Peak. So, this is a question for both of you. Is there something that you would like to see become a film or a show, and what role would you like to play in making that project?
Me?
Both of you.
I had a real heartbreak. One of my favorite novels was Shantaram, and I got to, I lobbied for the rights and got outbid for them. Somebody bought them for way more money than I could offer, but the author was really blown away by mine and my partner Eric Warren Singer's creative take on it. And Apple ended up getting the rights, and we went and campaigned for the job, and they hired us. But we only got to do one season of the show, and that was the biggest heartbreak I've had in my career, because we only got to tell a quarter of the story. So if I could tell any story in the world, I'd tell the rest of that story that we started. And then Apple fucked us.
I have a lot of unfinished projects as well. I did 2 seasons of a show called Hand of God, which I thought was didn't look like any other show I'd ever seen before or experienced before, and the network agreed. They said, "We don't know what this is. We're taking you off the air," but we still had a tremendous amount more story to tell. And then there was a second show that followed that called Startup, which also we never got canceled. We were ready to do the next season, and the network we was working for was so fucked up they forgot to even cancel us. They're still walking around like, you're running a network, man. Have some balls.
Ron, before we go any further, I'm gonna throw it over to you.
Thank you very much. So I have a little something that I would like to share with all of you. We have a couple of guests here today that might be near and dear to this city. Their names are Trey Filter and Paul Contreras. They're going to come out and join us. These are the two guys that took down the shooter at the Chiefs Parade. Without further ado, Paul Contreras, Trey Filter. You know, I don't even know where to begin, but you have something as pure and as joyful and as family-oriented as a celebration of your local team winning the Super Bowl. And you bring your family and your kids, and then it's marred by something like this. And it's another one of these heartbreaking moments that you can't even process. You don't know what to do with it. You don't know how to fix it. People have been grappling with this stuff way too much for way too long. But the bright part is that you get to, out of the ashes, you get to witness something that is truly extraordinary. And Charlie and I are obsessed with heroism because I think the reason why we become actors is because we try to get right in our storytelling, stuff that we definitely can't get right in real life. They both had their little kids there, and they still took this motherfucker down. And then in getting to know them over the last couple of days, they both got in their cars before anybody knew it happened and were out. They didn't want thank yous, they didn't want acknowledgement. Now they're stuck being celebrities, now they're stuck having to sit on a fucking couch with idiots like me, like going, and they didn't ask for any of that, they didn't want any of that, but I feel as though when human beings sacrifice themselves without a batting of an eyelash, because it's the right thing to do. It's all too rare, and it's all so extraordinary, because self-sacrifice is the true definition of heroism. When you're willing to put your own safety at risk for the greater good, that's the true definition of heroism. So I feel as though we owe them a great debt, and I just wanted you guys to meet them, and I'll start off by asking both of you, like, in that moment when you realized that, you know, it wasn't, what did you think it was first, the noise? The noise you heard was?
We at first, at least I did, assumed it was firecrackers, like a lot of the people you hear. Just turned out that it wasn't.
What did you think it was, Paul?
Me and my daughters assumed it was fireworks because we were at a celebration for the parade.
And then, how quickly did you realize, no, this was an active shooting moment?
I want to say 30 seconds to a minute when they were running, and then there was law enforcement everywhere chasing them. So it wasn't very long after that we thought fireworks, but then we knew. Me and my daughters kind of figured, well, that was gunshots.
No, we didn't know until well, once all of they yelled gun, so he and I, things sort of shifted, and once the cops arrived, I was just concerned about where my wife and children were, and we just, you know, let's get to the car. Within 20 minutes, my children are online, of course, saying, hey, this is a deal. And my wife said he had a gun. I said, well, that's what criminals do. And she said, no, it was a real deal, and so we all.
You have adrenaline still coursing through you. You're driving.
Yeah, driving.
It takes hours to come down from an adrenaline rush like that, especially one where there's no thought involved, there's no premeditation involved, right? That's my question. Was so. Do you have any recollection of, from the moment you realized that there was an active shooter, it wasn't fireworks, to the moment when you acted?
I recall a cop running through the crowd and chasing one of the gentlemen in black, or not gentlemen, but
For lack of a better word.
exactly. Once that happened, they kind of came into my square, if you will, since we're walking through a large crowd. And, I remember that, and then they yelled, "Get him again." And I was thinking maybe it's the same guy, or I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest.
I suspected that.
Yeah, and I'm sure glad he was here to
What were you
watch me
thinking?
back.
How do you, from the moment where you realized, okay, this is fucked up, to like you getting involved? Do you remember any of that?
I've been waiting a long. I didn't think much, but I was happy to do it.
And Paul, do you remember that gap?
There wasn't much of a gap. I was walking with my daughters toward the bridge, and there was a gentleman on the right side just screaming out of the top of his lungs to stop this guy, tackle this guy. And no sooner I look to my left, I see Trey lunge at him, and he somehow slipped away. And I was just right there, and that's when I jumped on the suspect's back and took him down to the ground. We rolled one time, but as I was taking him down, I see the weapon fall to the ground. So right then and there, I know it's on. He has one weapon. He's wearing a big bulky jacket. He could have made pockets in there to hold another handgun. You got one, you can have multiple. So right then and there, I knew I had to keep him down, and I had him face down. Shortly after that, Trey was on him, and we were, as much as we were fighting to keep him down, he was fighting to get up. So we knew we couldn't lose, and we didn't. We held him down until law enforcement got there. And there was no thinking. Like I said, if you had to think, don't do it. It was just a reaction Trey did and a reaction that I did.
And you guys never met each other before,
No, sir.
and you will be connected for life.
At the hip.
Yes.
And you had your kids there by your side, the most vulnerable things on the face of the earth, and the things that you're most obsessed with protecting as parents. And yet, the thing to do was to neutralize this moment for everybody's safety. And I shouldn't be doing any talking. I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to figure like what those moments must have been. So I've been fortunate to know these guys now for like 36 hours. We met Friday night when I first got here, and we've been eating and drinking, mostly drinking, but a lot of eating and a lot of laughing and a lot of talking ever since. And so I have the good fortune of being able to pull some information out of them that I found fascinating. So, how long after you passed this motherfucker over to law enforcement were you out of there?
Boss, I said, where's your mom? And the kids and I, we found the vehicle, and we were in our car within 10 minutes of that video.
Paul?
Yeah, I was the same way. I was there with my 3 daughters. And after, like you said, the law enforcement came over, relieved us. I got up to see my 2 older daughters were right here. My youngest daughter was over here, huddled. I gathered them. I don't think we stood there for maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes at most. And I told my daughters, I said, okay, let's go. So we were maybe 15 minutes, because it was about maybe a 10-minute walk over the bridge at most.
To get to the car?
To get to the car, yeah. And then we were on the we were on the road. So 15 minutes tops, we were out of there.
And could you tell us a little bit about, Trey, you mentioned that your daughter is online as kids do you know, and they realize, holy shit, we were just in the eye of a hurricane.
It was definitely a different experience for a family to have. As my oldest son, actually, he was taking videos, and he was actually taking a video, and some gentleman pulled him away. And I said, "Did you get a video?" And he says, "I think so." And he shared it to me through his Apple phone to mine, and it was all blurry. So I said, "Well, that's no good." Oh, it was good. It was a good video, and we just had a good time. They're older boys, and they're enjoying the new attention, and we've had a little bit of time it's a very sobering experience. I know the city of Kansas City has had a lot to deal with even since then, and you've just been a complete class act by having us here, and we couldn't thank you enough.
My honor.
It's been a
Meet you
real
guys.
pleasure.
But now, check this out. Paul was telling me, he's driving, he lives in Omaha, Nebraska, so he's got a 2.5-hour drive home. He's driving, holding on to the steering wheel, probably a little tighter than usual, and his kid's phone started ringing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we're driving, and like I said, we stood there for about 2 minutes at most, and nobody came up to acknowledge me after law enforcement came to cuff the suspect. So nobody looked my way or my daughter's way. Nobody came over, nobody talked to us, got our information, got our names, nothing. So I'm like, okay, let's go. So we're on the road for, I want to say 30 to 45 minutes. And out of nowhere, my phone starts ringing. Tell one of my daughters, who is it? I'm like, oh, it's just a number, Dad. Said, well, answer it if you want to answer it. You don't have to. But then my 2 oldest daughters' phones started ringing. I mean, we gave no information to nobody. Nobody knew my name. Nobody knew my daughter's names. Next thing you know, we got national news. We got local news. Everybody's wanting an interview. We get home. They're at my house within 15 minutes. I mean, interview after interview. So, I mean, before we knew it, it was funny because my daughters were writing down what time and who for an interview when we got home. And before you know it, my daughters were literally just taking phone calls from my phone, from their phone, writing all this information down. And they look up, they're like, we're almost home. I mean, they were all occupied with all that information, writing down who's, Today News, I mean, local news, it was Telemundo, I mean, it was Sports Center, ESPN, it was crazy. So they were so occupied with writing all this information down, they didn't realize I was doing maybe 90 on the way home. But
I don't know about you guys, but when he told me that all of a sudden their 3 phones started ringing, and there was no way they spent any time at the site exchanging information with anybody. So I still don't understand how it happened, but then he said, well, it's probably, social media is so, like, they got our pictures, and they start, like, trying to figure out who we are and stuff, and they track you down, and I guess, that's one of those things where Apple has all of our shit, man. They'll find you if they want to, and that blew me away. I'm gonna ask you a tricky question. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. Have you heard from the Kansas City Chiefs?
We haven't heard anything from the Chiefs, but we didn't come to Kansas City to hear anything from the Chiefs. We came here to support the Chiefs.
Of course.
And that's where we stand, or I do.
Well,
yeah, same here, Ron. They have not reached out.
and you're going to be Kansas City Chiefs fans for the rest. You have been Kansas City Chiefs fans for your whole lives, and you're going to be for the rest of your lives, right?
I would hope so.
Well, I'd like to just personally, this is Ron Perlman looking at my own camera over there. This has been recorded. if you are working in the front office of the Kansas City Chief, you might want to thank these motherfuckers. It kind of mystifies me that I have to point this out to you, but maybe you've checked with your lawyers and realized you shouldn't get involved with unsolicited heroism. I don't know, but that's fucked up. If we live in a world where you're afraid of what your legal, ramifications are of thanking the two guys that prevented so much more carnage, then there's much more we got to fix in our fucking society than that. But got a hand for these guys. These guys will be signing autographs at my no, they won't.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
You know how to share that? So if you press stop, and then it gives you the option to share it. Yeah, the X button. This is the thing I have so much trouble. If you've seen my Instagram lives, it usually takes me, this is my finger trying to, I finish my rant like, motherfucker, fuck you, and I'm going. It takes me 20 seconds to find the X button to stop the thing. And then at the bottom it says share, and it'll post.
Do you need
No, I don't need no caption. The video will speak for itself.
Well,
Anyway, thank you for your graciousness. I know this was a Sons of Anarchy panel, but Sons of Anarchy purported to be a show about a bunch of badasses. We figured, you may want to meet a couple of the real deals.
so we are technically at time. This clock is flashing at us, but is it okay with you? We just do one more quick question, then we'll get you guys back to your booth. All right, so we'll do one more question, and preferably a question for both of these gentlemen, if possible. What's your name?
Hi, my name is John. Martin Scorsese has his Robert De Niro. Guillermo del Toro has had his Ron Perlman, going all the way back to Kronos. Charlie, you've also worked with him through Crimson Peak. So what's it been like with that collaboration over the years that keeps pulling you back to working with Guillermo del Toro?
It appears that Del Toro found his Leonardo DiCaprio because, I don't know, maybe he'll come back to De Niro at one point, but right now I'm not getting any phone calls.
Me neither.
Thank you.
I think we just made some news.
Well, unfortunately, we are out of time.